Tracy Montez, Executive Officer, Dental Board of California. We're going to start first before we call the council meeting to order with a security check. With that, I will turn it over to our two sworn officers, Joe and Jerry.
Good morning. I'm Investigator Joe Tippins. I'm the Sacramento Enforcement Office, and I'd like to introduce to you our new investigator. This is Investigator Jim Furman. Mr. Furman was formerly an officer at Roseville Police Department. Got a lot of years of experience as a law enforcement officer, and he's got a lot of time with the state as he was from the California Department of Public Health. So, welcome, Gary. So, for our safety brief. Event that there is any kind of disturbance, we would ask that the board would stop the meeting, and Investigator Furman and I will address any disturbances as necessary. If it becomes a bit more contentious, we would ask the board go into recess, at which time we'll continue to address any situations that face out in the audience. In the event of active shooter situation, we would ask that individuals in the audience, you simply drop to the ground and stay where you are. Individuals that are up here on the dais, exit through the door over here into the outer parking lot. Ensure that you stay away from Investigator Furman and I. We address any active shooter situation. Be alarmist, but that's the reality of the situation we live in these days. Very much for your time.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Dental Assisting Council meeting. My name is Kara Miyazaki, and I'm Chair of the Dental Assisting Council. Today is Thursday, August 15th, 2024. The Dental Assisting Council meeting being held via teleconference with closed in-person location available for and public member participation. I'd also like to welcome our new members of our Dental Assisting Council, Jessica Gerlach, RDA, and unfortunately, Carrie Smith unable to be here. For all who wish to participate online, please log to the WebEx website provided on the posted agenda for this meeting. Instructions to connect to the meeting are provided in the agenda. The preferred audio connection is via telephone and not microphone and speakers on your computer. The phone number and access code will be provided as part of your connection to the meeting. During each call for comment, Dental Assisting Council members and speakers, we will ensure that all comments that can be accommodated are heard before proceeding to the agenda. This is an official meeting of the Dental Assisting Council. The council welcomes public comments on any item on the agenda, and it is the council's intent to ask for public comments prior to the council taking action on any agenda item. The DCA moderator will explain the process for providing public comments shortly. For individuals participating via WebEx, when called upon, the moderator will give individual permission to unmute themselves, and they will have 2 minutes to make a public comment. The moderator will audibly announce when 30 seconds remain to conclude the public comment. After the 2 minutes have lapsed, the individual will be placed back on mute. Only one public comment per agenda item is allowed per attendee. Depending on the number of people like to testify on a particular agenda item, a total time limit may be imposed. We ask all speakers to stay on topic and not repeat testimony already provided. If you agree with the testimony already provided, please just state your name and that you are in support of any comments previously provided. I would now like to ask the DCA moderator to please explain how public comments would be taken during this.
When the time comes for public comment, we will be showing a visual on screen, and we're going to ask everyone to raise their hand virtually by hitting the hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users will need to dial *3 to raise their hand. And for our mobile device users, you have 3 different screens and only one of them has a hand button, so you may need to hit the ellipses button. That's the ... in order to find that hand. Madam Chair?
Thank you, DCA moderator. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask board staff to call the roll.
Good morning. My name is Paula Turan. I will now call the roll. Epps Robbins. Fowler. Fowler. present. Gerlach. Gerlach present. Miyazaki.
Miyazaki present?
Alagi.
Augie present?
Pacheco.
Jacob.
If absent, a quorum has been established.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 2, public comment on items not on the agenda. Before we open public comment on matters not on the agenda, I would like to remind everyone that public comments should address council as a whole and not individual members. Please be aware that public comment during this agenda item will provide information to the council members, but it is not a discussion between the council members and the public. The only action council members can take right now is to listen to comments and decide whether they want a agenda item on the topic. It may seem at times like the council members are being responsive. Following these guidelines is critical to ensure the rules of the Open Meeting Act are followed to avoid compromising the speaker's goals or the council's mission. In the interest of time, as we have done in the past, we would like to request that public not repeat statements made by a commenter. If you are in support of a statement made by a prior individual and your comments have already been made, please just state your name or association and your support for the previous commenter. Legislative meetings regularly use this practice and it is a good way to ensure that we can hear from everyone today. Are there any in-person public comments? Seeing that there are none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment via WebEx for items not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
We will continue. We'll now move on to agenda item 3, discuss possible action on the May 4th, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there any council member discussion? Seeing that there's none, is there a motion and second? Please state your name and motion or second.
Motion, the minutes as written.
I second the motion.
Pacheco motion, Fuller second. Are there any, motion is to approve the meeting minutes for May 15th, 2024, General Assistant Council. Are there in-person public comments? Seeing that there are none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment on the motion for the meeting minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes. Board staff, please call the roll. Board votes for this agenda item.
This is Marilla Turan, and I'll call the roll. Epps Robbins.
Epps Robbins, aye.
Fowler.
Fowler, aye.
Gerlach. Gerlach, aye. Miyazaki.
Miyazaki, aye.
Alagi.
Alagi, aye.
Pacheco.
Aye.
Smith. The motion passed.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 4, Executive Officer Report. I'm going to ask Tracy Montez, Executive Officer, to present this agenda.
Morning, Tracy Montez, Executive Officer of the Board of California, and I'm going to keep this sweet. The board staff have been working extremely hard on these projects, as we will report later in our updates, as well as working on SB 1453, our Senate bill. We have continued our negotiations on language and are looking forward to having this finalized very soon, with the governors hopefully signing it then later so that we can get started on all the updates. I want to thank board staff tremendously for all the work that they have done to view edits and comments that have in for me to, again, continue to work with this language. They have already started creating templates and plans to implement all this. So again, especially kudos to staff, because waiting for the bill to get chaptered, we're anticipating so that everything will have a smooth transition with the board and DCA and our part in the IT world. So very pleased with that. We continue to fill vacancies. We will have a budget report later where we'll talk about some important things. So I encourage everybody to stay for the board meeting. I purposely kept our board meeting late this month because we had another intense council and board meeting in May, and so I wanted the council and the board to be able to just kind of step back, take a moment, see where we're at, and then of course all of our legislation is finalized. We're going to have a big November council meeting and board meeting, so be prepared because we will be taking action on our work group, our relations work group for DA. We'll be talking about infection control, and again, all of the changes as a result of our sunset bill. So thank you to the council for your help and support in navigating this, and again to the staff of the board. And that is my executive officer report.
Thank you for your report. Is there any member discussion? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment via WebEx on agenda item 4. If you'd like to make a comment on the executive officer's report, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We also have a Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of the screen where you may type the word comment if you wish to make a comment on agenda item 4. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. All right, looks like we've got a comment from Molab Al-Samari. Hold on just a moment. We're sending you a request to unmute your microphone. All right, I see that you've unmuted. Are you with us? We're going to wait just a moment longer to see if we can get audio on this. Hold on just a moment. I'm also going to display instructions for possibly fixing the problem. I'll display them on screen in just a moment. I have instructions on screen which might help you solve your audio problem. And we lost our user. With that, we have no other requests for public comment.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 5, update on legislation. I'm going to ask Dr. Montez to present this agenda.
Good morning. Nancy Montez, Executive Officer. I am taking the role of Mr. Bruggeman. I am happy but sad to report that Mr. Bruggeman has left our board for a very exciting promotional opportunity. Another agency. We were very sad to see him leave. However, we have filled his position. In November, you will have a new, we will have a new member to introduce. But in the meantime, I'm learning about legislation and regulation. And so today I will be doing the reports. So with that, I do have an update. Our bill here of major interest, of course, is Senate Bill 1553. This is our sunset bill. We have a summary in council packet that talks about the numerous amendments, hearings that it has gone. This is something, again, we reported in May to you. Since May, the bill was amended in June. In July, I attended the assembly hearing and was, again, very pleased that the Senate BNP, who is the author of the bill, continues to work very closely with the board on amendments. We do have hopefully near to final draft of the bill that should be posted any time. So I anticipate that we will all take a close look at that. There is limited opportunities to make amendments, why this is not a discussion. We will, the board is to have to, or doesn't have to, may choose to talk on a couple of potential amendments or issues, outstanding issues this afternoon. But again, we're really limiting our opportunities here on amendments because of how late we are in the game, but also too because I think we're very comfortable with what we're seeing. So that is my update. It continues to be amended, but we appear to have a close 99% maybe final version of it that should be posted soon. And it is continuing to move through the process, which is a good thing because we want the dental board to continue regulating dental professionals. Any questions from the council?
Seeing that there's no questions from the council members, are there any in-person public comments? Please come forward. Please come forward to the one right here.
Choose a seat. Yeah, that's fine. And then there's a little button on the microphone. You can press. There you go.
Okay,
Ask you introduce yourself and make your comments.
thank you. Thank you for being supportive of I'm a rookie here. I present myself, I'm Dr. Sheetal Patil, I come from San Ramon, Fremont, California, and I present California Association of Orthodontists. We have some concerns that we have proposed amendments to the SB 1453, specifically affecting the orthodontic assisting permit requirements. We express our gratitude to Dental Board of California for their flexibility in efforts to streamline the licensing process for the orthodontic assistants, particularly their willingness to removing the 6-month RDA work requirement before the OA application goes into works. There's few concerns we still have in the process. When the 6-month work experience requirement has been reduced, requesting that it be reduced to 9. The compromise, if has to be met, we require that a 3-month work experience requirement be met. It is because we're facing some workforce shortage right now. And having the time requirements adds on hindrances in applying to this permit. Other issue that I bring out to the council also is that orthodontic
30 seconds.
assistants have a narrower scope of duty, and the ultrasound scaling requirement that we have in the examination. We recommend that be taken out because it is obsolete. None of the honors nowadays have an ultrasonic scaler requirement. We want to thank the Board of California in pursuing further, making our job requirements easier for the orthodontic assistant.
Time.
Thank you. You did great on your first time presenting. Appreciate it. And if I would just like to say that we have had very good dialogue with the association and just appreciate that. I think it's been a very healthy conversation, very educational, and I believe that this is something that the board likely to discuss later in the discussion agenda item for our bill, which is a little different than this bill or this item here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any public comments from, are there any other public comments in person? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment on 5A. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Yes, thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 6, status update on pending regulations. I'm going to ask Dr. Montez to present this agenda item.
Good morning again, Tracy Montez, Board of California, EO. This is the status on pending regulations that we present at the council meeting each quarter. And we have an update on various areas here. I'm happy to report on our dental assisting exams. Again, this is the first piece of the dental regulation that the board or the council and the board tackled. And at this time, the Office of Administrative Law published rulemaking notice on July 12th. This started what's called a 4-day public comment period, ends at the close of business on Tuesday, August 27th. So that's coming up short. Any adverse comments received public comment period will be addressed by the board at a subsequent board meeting. Again, we plan to do this at the November council and board meeting. Again, this is moving along. This is of several areas that are addressed that could be addressed before the Sunset Bill chaptered. So the next one is our Section 100 Filing Reform Act, and this was some small changes that were made regarding processing times, things like that, very minor non-substantive type of edits. This package was filed with the Office of Administrative Law on June 3rd and has actually been approved as of July 6th. So I do have an update since this was published. And those changes became effective immediately. So those, again, packages one has been finalized. With regard to the dental assisting regulation work group, I had mentioned this earlier in my EO report. This was something the board appointed in April. We have our council chair, Kara Miyazaki, and council vice chair, Jerry Fowler, are on this particular committee, working group, I should say. And while they met in April, we decided to table the meetings because we know the outcome of our Sunset Bill is going to impact. So rather than making changes, doing work, and then backtrack, we just simply table it. So I anticipate that the group will be meeting hopefully in October or late September once we know the final Sunset Bill looks. And so we'll be able to report in November where we are. Again, the goal is to keep moving and grab another one of those articles and make some progress on it. Similarly, we have infection control regulation working group. And again, here we have our council chair, Karen Miyazaki, and our board vice president, Joanne, are on this working group. have been doing their homework and reviewing the past package that was developed and have made some edits and changes. Board staff are going to compile that. That's the next project. And then we're going to be working with the hygiene board. They have a subject matter expert. He's actually a board member, and he is going to be assisting in that review as well. And then again, we hope to bring board item to November. So, and you're going to see an update on the regulations working group and then the infection control. So very excited about that. There's no action on the item. It's informational only, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Is there any council for discussion? Seeing that there's none, are there any in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx DCA moderator? Please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment on agenda item 6. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. As usual, we're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Yes, thank you. Now move on to agenda item 7, update on assisting examination statistics. I ask Ricky Parks, dental assisting unit manager, to present this agenda item.
Good morning, Chair Miyazaki, members of the council. My name is Ricky Parks. I'm Dental Assisting Program Manager. And the board offers 4 examinations: the Registered Dental Assistant General and Law and Ethics written exam, the Registered Dental Assistant in Extended Functions written exam, the Orthodontic Assistant written exam, the Dental Sedation Assistant written exam. Statistics on performance for these 4 examinations begin on page 26 of your meeting materials. Statistics provided for fiscal year 2024 are year-end statistics. As we were compiling the statistics, we discovered errors in the data which have been correctly posted to our website. That concludes this agenda item, and there is no action requested.
Thank you. Is there council member discussion? Are there any in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx DCA moderator? Please facilitate the line for public comment.
We are open for public comment on agenda item 7. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request online, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Parks. We will now move on to agenda item 8A, discussion and possible recommendation to evaluate the dental anesthesia assistant national certification exam used in the California Dental Sedation Assistant process. I'm going to ask Dr. Montez to present this agenda item.
Hey, Tracy Montez, Executive Officer. Agenda item 8 is a discussion and possible recommendation to evaluate the dental anesthesia assistant national certification examination for use in the California Dental Sedation Assistant permit process. Some background here. The board does administer California specific dental sedation permit holder examination and done so since 2010. There have been no significant updates to the examination at the time because our pool of subject matter experts is so small. According to, Business and Professions Code Section 139, for you who are not familiar with that, it requires us to do regular updates, look at the scope of practice, and consider how the exam is evolving and doing its job to protect customers. But because, and this involves using testing experts as well as subject matter experts who would be permit holders. But because there are so few of them, it's hard to pull them away from their jobs to come participate and do this work. So because of that, Office of Professional Examination Services, you are all familiar with, has made a recommendation that we consider potentially using the national exam. It could be to replace our exam, which would be ideal because we can't maintain our exam. It doesn't make sense to have both of them. But certainly before we make any kind of decision like that, we have to vet it. We have to do audit of that national exam, and we need to compare it to the requirements and the scope of how how it compares to our California specific examination. And so it is a process. It's a psychometric valid process of vetting the exam. OPS has done this on our other exams. We do it for our own state exams, but we've also done it on the dental exams like the REB and so forth. So this is a process that I'm familiar with. And so what I am asking the council to do is consider supporting this request to get to the board, and then the board, of course, will discuss it later, and then authorize us to move forward, explore this exam, to have OPS perform this exam, perform this project, and then come back and report their findings. So we're not making any decisions on whether or not we're going to use the exam. We're simply approving to move forward with some research into it, and then later, at a later time, have a thoughtful discussion. It's going to cost money, I believe, about $25,000. We can do that with our budget. And then hopefully it's about a 6-month process. So we're not going to get results in November. We get them early next year, and then again, continue the discussion and so forth. So I have my memo that I did here. And I also attached the memo from OPS, kind of discussing it, the process. So happy to answer any questions you might have, or again, if you want to, this is a discussion item.
Is there any council member discussion? Ms. Fowler?
I'm definitely in support of PES evaluating this exam and to see if it has potential of us allowing that as a licensure pathway. I will make my comments. I do have concerns by having the only pathway, but right now we're just trying to decide whether or not we want to move forward with OPES doing this. And I'm definitely supporting.
Are there any other member discussion? Is there a motion and a second? Please state your motion or second.
I'd like to move to recommend the board that it approve the request to have OPS conduct a comprehensive review of the AAOSM DAANCE.
Pacheco, motion, Olagi, second. Motion is to move to recommend to the board that if approved, the request to have OPS conduct a comprehensive review of the ASOSM DAANCE exam. Are there any in-person public comments?
Good morning, Council. Pleasure to be here. The subject where I have, in the past anyway, served as a subject matter expert, and I have some experience dealing with the exam, and I know Dr. Felsenfeld is familiar with it as well. It's hard for me to summarize everything in just 2 minutes, but I'll give it a shot. You'll find when you look at this, first of all, speaking in support of the motion, I agree with the plan to go ahead and review the exam. You will find that the dance exam was developed by AOMS as a psychometrically and valid exam. They did contract with an applied measurement professionals to do an occupational analysis so the duties would be aligned with the content of the course. Of course, California do everything just a little differently. So we have some expanded duties in California were not really addressed by the dates. And those, of course, are incorporated in the DSA course itself. But it's interesting to know 2 other states I know for sure, Oregon and Washington, recognize dance. And I believe there are other states around the country as well. It'll all kind of sort out as you go through the evaluation process. But it's a little more complicated project. And dealing with anesthesia, as you know, is controversial. And you might be aware that the anesthesia organization sent a letter to Amos regarding a dance course and their concerns about it. And I share that letter with you because that's bound to come up. So
30
I'll leave
seconds.
that. Yeah, made it under the wire there. So thank you for the motion.
Thank you.
Or in-person public comments.
Sherry Becker, representing the Alliance. We are in support of this.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. Are there any more public comments? Any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx DCA moderator? Please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment on 8A and the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request online, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, thank you. Board staff, please call the roll and report for this agenda item.
This is Turan. I will now call the roll. Epps Robbins.
Epps Robbins.
Fowler.
Fowler, aye.
Gerlach.
Gerlach, aye.
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki, aye.
Olagi.
Olagi, aye.
Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Smith absent. The motion passed.
Yeah, thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 8B, discussion and possible recommendation to evaluate the existing national board's certified orthodontic assisted examination for use in California orthodontic assistant permit process. I'm going to ask Dr. Montez to present this item.
Tracy, as Executive Officer, again, this is a discussion and possible recommendation to evaluate the existing National Board Certified Orthodontic Examination for use in the California Orthodontic Assistant Permit process. This is a very similar situation as the sedation. However, we were able to do some exam update with this particular exam, but again, due to the cost and the relatively number, it's really not in the board's best, or the board's best to use this exam as being used. We would like again to explore the opportunity to use the national exam for the similar reasons with the patient permit. And so with that, I am opening it up again to any discussion the council may have. This is a similar, just to make a recommendation to the board to initiate the evaluation or audit process. It does have the price tag again of about $25,000 and take at least about 6 months to complete. We would like to be able to bring back the findings to the council, have a thoroughly vet and discussion about it, and the board as well. But again, this is simply a recommendation to authorize the board forward. Thank you.
Is there any council member discussion? Ms. Fowler?
Jerry Fowler here. So once again, I'm in support of OPS evaluating COA Danby exam. I also believe that the OAP exam is a very good exam, and I would like to get access to care. I'm in support of having both exams available, so we can allow more orthodontist assistants to practice in California.
Thank you. Is there any other council member discussion? Ms. Olagi?
I'd like to make a motion to move to the board that it approves the request of OPS, the comprehensive review of the Danby COA nation.
Pacheco, second.
Olagi and Pacheco second, and the motion is move to recommend to the board have approved the request to have OPS conduct a comprehensive review of the MB certified ortho assistant exam. Is there any person public comments?
Sherry Becker, representing the Alliance. We are in support of this information. Thank you. Good morning, Tuka Zaki, representing the California Dental Association, and we are also in support of this review. Look forward to the results.
Thank you. Are there any more in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx DCA moderator? Please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Now is the time to raise your hand for public comment. You can do so by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request online, do you wish to continue?
Yes, we'll continue. Thank you. Staff, please call the roll and record votes for this agenda item.
This is Turan. I will now call the roll. Epps Robbins.
Epps Robbins. Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Gerlach, aye.
Miyazaki.
Aye.
Loggy.
Palagi, aye.
Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Smith. The motion passed.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 8C, discussion and possible recommendation to translate registered dental assistant general written law and ethics examination. I'm going to ask Dr. Montez to present this agenda item.
Good morning again. Montez, Executive Officer. This is a discussion and possible recommendation to translate the dental assistant general written and law and ethics examination. In response to access to care and barriers to licensure, the Department of Consumer Affairs and bureaus are either currently translating, considering translating their respective licensing examination as a strategy to address these issues. Consistent with efforts, the board and the council are being asked to review and discuss information provided in this memo and consider whether or not is an action the board should move forward with. And so I had asked PS to provide a memo to discuss translating examinations because it's not, we don't really translate exams, we adapt them. And that is that not a word for word translation. And it's something that we need to be very thoughtful about. I will tell you again, many of you know, I come from OPS, so I am a pediatrician, and it's really important that when we consider adapting or translating exams, that it's a thoughtful decision that is not based on heart, but based on knowledge, and recognizing that something that may seem so simple and straightforward can have unintended consequences, actually reduce access to care and create barriers to licensure. And so I'm hoping the council and the board members have had time to read the memo that's in their packets, and that facilitate a discussion. The other two agenda items, this is a recommendation potentially to the board, and then they will also consider and discuss. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions as you discuss this. The things that I always talk about in my prior role with OPS and discussing this with boards is to really think about how your students or candidates are trained, where the role of English come into play. Do your schools teach in multiple languages? How does that work? Because that's where sometimes we see the unintended consequences with professions, particularly healing arts professions, where education is in English, and then they may go take the exams in their language and find that it's very confusing. It's different from what they were taught. And again, because of the adaptation, that word-to-word translation doesn't always happen. We do have some boards, for example, it's not a healing arts board, but it's one that I like to use often. The Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, they translate a number of their exams, and they're having great difficulty with Spanish exam. They start with a simple translation, and the passing rate did not go up. They dictionaries, the passing rate did not go up. They now have the English version with the Spanish version side by side. It's not going up. And despite lots of research, the conclusion is it's a very complex process. There's different dialects. It's just, it's difficult. So that they're struggling. So again, it's not, oh, we're going to translate an exam and suddenly the passing rate is going to go sky high. So I share that with you because it's sometimes a difficult discussion, given how diverse California is, and we certainly want to be sensitive to that, but we want to make sure, again, that we don't create unintended consequences or expectations for our candidates. So thank you. I'm happy to open it up to discussion.
Is there any discussion from the council? I've looked at the ring and cosmetology statistic, and they translate their exam into 4 other languages: Chinese, Korean, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And looking at the results, and this is just looking at the results as an overview, it looks like English has the highest passing rate, with Chinese being second, Vietnamese being third, being fourth, and Spanish is the last. So this does concern me, that the pass rate is, and this has been over years that this this exam has been translated into Spanish, and I believe that we need to have care and also be able to candidates pass our exam. So I have also had a conversation with the National Board Executive Officer, and they actually started about 3 months ago their CDA exam in Spanish. And actually it started in March, I believe. And they outsourced their exam to a company that is well recognized in able to do this successfully. And so far their statistics have been sort of really equivalent. The English and the Spanish version are equivalent. So I would like to have the exam and be able to have students who have yet passed the exam, but I'm also kind of between looking at the statistics for Korean cosmetology and the pass for the 4 languages, Spanish and the last. Does anyone have?
Can I add one thing? I wanted to clarify, because as you were talking, it reminded me, we always talk about an exam, but just to clarify, it is exams, it's an ongoing process. So there's multiple forms. So this involves outsourcing to a vendor for the cost of this and ongoing costs, because every time OPS develops a new form of the exam, it has to go through the adaptation process. And we do that because we're not interested in testing memorization. or recall. We want to make sure that we are testing the most up-to-date knowledge for competency at this time. So it is a commitment to an ongoing process. Thank you.
Would just like to make a comment. As a program director in our educational institution, we're very diverse in the Central Valley, 26 different languages, in our program alone, and our students learn in English and have no difficulty in the RDH exam. It's given in English.
I'm looking at the information for OPES, and one of the things that they've sort of emphasized is are the books and the resources that we give to our students available in the language that we're talking about, the languages that we're about. And I don't believe the programs that help use any textbooks that are translated in different languages. That's a part that concerns me too as well, with information from OPES. I'm if there may be, if maybe we can think about taking this back a little bit and possibly getting some information from the Dental Assisting National about their exam and what's their successful exam and how they went about doing this before jumping into exploring further beyond to have the exam translated. Do the council members have any opinion about that?
Again, this is Pacheco. From an educator standpoint, there are publishers that do have the availability for the students with the ebooks to be able to translate the information into their language.
So again, the board doesn't necessarily, or the council doesn't necessarily have to take action on this item. You can simply just say, okay, this is great. See what happens with the new Spanish exam. You can report back at a later time. And then just see how the board with the sides later this afternoon. So again, you don't have to take any action on it. It's up to you.
Is there a possibility to bring concerns, positive or negative, to the board with the report, or is that not possible?
Yes, you can when you discuss. So you could, yes. Yes, in your council report, you can share the comments that were offered by the council members at the board, your report to the board this afternoon when they address this item.
Would be the wish of the council members for me to bring the comments forward about the textbooks being available in other languages and the information.
Ballard, yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Is there any other council member discussion? Okay. Is there any in-person public comments?
Sherry Becker, representing the, I would ask that we consider not just the formal education way, but we do have the on-the-job train pathway where maybe they would not be using, excuse me, textbook per se. So I would ask that you would take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Tukasokai, California Dental Association. We are in support of translating the RDA oral written exam, mainly because that Danby is offering radiation health and safety in Spanish, and echoing what Ms. Becker said about the other pathways to gain the education and knowledge that in a different language before sitting for the written exam. It offers them more accessibility, and as we support the workforce trying to offer these ways. Thank you.
Are there any other in-person public comments? Seeing that there are none, are Public comments from individuals participating via X DCA moderator, please facilitate lines for public comment.
We are open for public comment via WebEx on item 8C. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand. We will call on people in the order we have requests. As a reminder to our mobile device users, if you're having trouble finding that hand button, you may need to hit the ellipses button, that's the ... in order to find the hand. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Thank you. We'll continue. We'll now move on to agenda item 11, update on dental assisting licensing statistics. I'm going to ask Ms. Parks to present this item. Where I skip? My apologies. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 9, update from the board's Access to Care Committee. I'll ask Laren, Board Secretary, to present this agenda item.
Hello, good morning. Hi, this is Dr. Lorraine, Board Secretary, this is Care Chair, and this is Thakur. She's also on the committee, as co-chair. Okay, so let me put my glasses on. Last meeting we spoke and we let you know that the Care Committee was reestablished in 2023, it's just an update. And the purpose was to generate ideas on improving access to dental services California. And we decided the first action would direct the workforce to address the workforce issues. We board approved 4 recommendations, which we spoke about last time, and I'm just going to give you an update on recommendations where they stand. First question was to explore ideas to improve license exam transparency. And I'm here say that the candidate information bulletin has been reviewed and efforts are being made to ensure a better understanding of their use. A new examination plan for registered dental assistants, licensed applicants went into effect May 1st, 2024. Both the CIB and examination plan posted on the board's website. That was the first question. Second question, it was just addressed, so I'm glad to see that at least it's being explored. And another option I believe that we could possibly explore would be to have a translator on site if it's going to be in English. So that's just maybe one of my recommendations. That was the second question about the translations. The third question was survey candidates to see how they study. 4 questions were added to the 4 questions we had were added to the PS computer-based testing survey offered at the end of each RDA applicant testing experience to gather feedback about how applicants prepare for examination. To date, survey data was presented at the council meeting. And the 4th question, to analyze the pathways for RDA licensure. OPES generated statistics to inform pathways for the different RDA pathways to licensure and submitted a memorandum discussing these pass rates. I'd like to you to check out the last memorandum. You may not have it in your book, but we have this, the results of the survey. I don't know if you have that. Do they have that? Okay, everybody has that? Okay. And these are the questions that were asked after the exam. And if you can see the results here, but the only one I saw that was a little bit interesting. 4th question, do you feel the steps you to get ready for the RDA examination prepare you sufficiently? And a lot of them said what? It was like the biggest percentage amount of people was 408. We can explore that just a little bit more. And the next steps are to develop a brief survey for addressing recruitment and retention of RDAs, and consider translating the RDA General Written Law and Ethics exam. And you had another recommendation, Dr. Thurgood.
Yeah, yes, I think couple to look at, we don't know how these correlate to pass rates and how this is very important data. I believe the first step. I think two other follow-up things to consider. One is how these correlate to pass, and what path did these students who took the RDA test, did they do a program or did they learn a job? I think once we know those, we would be able to tailor our recommendations further. And I mean, as I speak now, the third, like, are they native English speakers? Is another thing. If we had that information, then we could correlate these responses and with some statistical significance could test certain things further. More to come.
Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Tracy Montes, the staff of the dental board, because they have worked on this, and it's very exciting to see. So we're going to have to plan some other action, Dr. Thakur. That's our
Thank you.
report.
Thank you for it, and thank you for the work for your committee. Very much appreciated.
Okay.
If I may just add to that, this additional information, we do have copies of the on the table out there, as you walk in the door, and then we have this posted with our meeting material shortly, if Marella hasn't already done it, because she's super quick. But yes, thank you. We are just really trying to collect information at this point, and certainly as the new pathway roll out for registered dental assistants, this will give us different avenues, data collection to continue diving deeper, and again, working with the parameters of the data that we are allowed to collect and track. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any council member discussion? I just wanted to say that the information and the data, how they rate how the candidate, the information on the candidate information brochure was really nice to see that they found that the brochure was very valuable to them. And I just wanted to give I commend the board staff and the Assistant Care Committee on working on the clarifying the information in the candidate information brochure. Is there any other council member discussion? Are there any in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
We are once again open for public comment via WebEx. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request via WebEx, do you wish to continue?
Thank you. We will continue. I'll move on to agenda item 10, update on registered dental assistant and registered dental assistant functions, educational program and course application approvals. I'm going to Ricky Parks to return back to the front.
Thank you again, Chairman and members of the council. Ricky, Dental Assisting Program Manager. Agenda item 10 begins on 41 of your meeting materials. This item provides statistics on applications for board approval for registered dental assistant and registered dental assistant in extended functions programs and course agreements for the orthodontic assistant permit, dental sedation assistant permit, interim therapeutic restoration, coronal polishing, radiation safety and control, and ultrasonic scaling. That concludes this agenda item, and there is no action requested.
Thank you.
Montez, Executive Officer, I'd just like to thank Ricky for stepping in. So our Victor Labette, our man of this unit is on jury duty this week. So Ricky stepped in to make this presentation. I appreciate that. And then again, I want to again remind the members, this is our new unit, license and program compliance. Our third member will be joining us September 3rd. So the 3 unit will be completely full. And they are working so hard. Again, a lot of this work was tabled during COVID, and they are diving in and outstanding. And so I'm very excited. Again, I know you just see numbers here, but it's just incredible that they do every day, having to go through the program, the courses, get up to date, catch up. They've been working with our board council to standardize checklists, templates, letters, and it's just very exciting. So thank you. You to know that.
Thank you. Any in-person public comment? Other public comments from individuals participating via web DCA moderator, please facilitate for public comment.
We are open for public comment on agenda item 10. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand. We will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request via WebEx, do you wish to continue?
Thank you. We'll continue. We'll now move on to agenda item 11, update general assisting licensing statistics. I'm going to ask Ms. Parks to present this agenda item.
And thank you again, Chair Miyazaki, Key Parks Dental Assisting Program Manager. Within this agenda item, find statistics for the last 4 fiscal years for initial applications received, initial applications approved, initial applications abandoned, and candidate applications approved and licenses issued, applicants denied licensure, and exam candidate applications abandoned. We have also provided graphs for these statistics on pages 50 and 51. License statistics found on page 52 and RD to DDS ratios on pages 53 to 55. Includes this agenda item. There is no action requested.
Thank you. Is council member discussion? Are there any in-person public comments?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. This is Sheetal, orthodontist from Fremont, California. In the statistics that you have, where you have published how many dental assistants, registered dental assistant to a dentist you have, is data available for the orthodontic assistants with permit available to the relative number of orthodontists we have in California? Could that be made available? Can you repeat the question? So I heard that we said we have the data available in our report from the board for the registered dental assistants in proportion available for the dentist practicing in California. Do we have the data available for ortho assistants permit holders compared to the orthodontist in California?
It's something that we can look into and potentially bring back to the council. I do want to remind everybody on this chart that this address of record, so it is necessarily a show of where they work. It's merely address of record. Certainly, it's something if the council chooses, we could look into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any or in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx A moderator, please facilitate the line for public comment.
We are open for public comment via WebEx on agenda item 11. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise a hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take a few seconds now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request for public comment via WebEx, do you wish to continue?
Yes, we'll continue. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 12, adjournment. This concludes the August 9th, 2024 Dental Assisting Council meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
The board meeting will start at 10 o'clock. Thank you.